Tonight on a special edition of 7 News, damage and despair as Cyclone Alfred starts to inflict misery on millions of people. Officially, it's still 18 hours away, but up here, the pain has well and truly started.
Please stay safe. Be sensible.
We have extended coverage as New South Wales and Queensland brace for disaster. There's breaking news. A man washed into floodwaters near Coffs Harbour. We will have the very latest live. Also, high drama as thousands try to outrun the storm. The roads are a mess and servos are running dry.
I've got nothing. I'm nearly empty.
The North Coast at a standstill.
There's a lot happening in Sydney too, including a shark attack in the Shire, a woman badly hurt.
Chilling new details on a teenager's armed attack on a passenger jet.
And a rescued sailor arrived safely in Sydney into the arms of his wife after Alfred nearly killed him.
This is 7 News.
Good evening. Cyclone Alfred is lashing the coast tonight and causing blackouts as it bears down on Brisbane and our state's north. But there is some encouraging news right now.
While it will still be dangerous and damaging with flash flooding and high winds, the cyclone is expected to weaken when it makes landfall. Angela Cox in Byron Bay, you have the latest timing on when that will be.
I do, Chris. Forecasters now saying Alfred will come ashore around 11 a.m. tomorrow, most likely just north of Brisbane, and softening to a Category 1, which still packs wind gusts of over 100 kilometres an hour and huge amounts of rain. Tonight, our team of reporters is across every development. I've been on the ground here to see the damage firsthand. It is something beyond any storm, a tropical cyclone now knocking at the door.
Definitely feels like a cyclone's coming now.
The weather up here
Definitely got windier.
and definitely got wetter.
We're completely flooded up to our ankles.
It's also got wilder. Out there you can see it, and up here you can hear it. Make no mistake, Alfred is arriving and is doing awful damage. This from the back blocks. And have a look here, a family home as good as gone. By the beach, no better.
Wow.
And in the water, all bad. But there is panic too. Long lines for groceries. Catch them while you can. Ditto for fuel, in case tanks run dry. The army's arrived for this war on the weather as everyone pitches in, from the Queensland Premier.
Some of the images that you've seen have made you proud to be a Queenslander.
But some haven't. This man accused of pinching a private generator as 80,000 homes are tonight in the dark.
A quick update, power lost to Currumbin Valley.
We've got hundreds of lines down across the network.
Repair crews did try, but
It was just too much. It was unsafe.
that's full. Whoa. At the National Situation Room,
Thanks for your work.
the Prime Minister got an Alfred update. It wasn't good.
This is a serious event. We absolutely need to prepare for the worst. Please stay safe.
But tonight, a lucky break.
As the cyclone moves across Moreton Bay Islands, it is expected to weaken from a Category 2 to a Category 1 system. This will mean that destructive winds are unlikely for Brisbane itself.
On the Gold Coast, the canine crowd was back.
This isn't a time for sightseeing.
From the air, Brisbane is eerie and empty. Shops shut. Freeways free. The airport clear. Trains still. Then, on the ground, Alfred eating up the coast as this cyclone makes its mark. Over the border in New South Wales, flood rescues already. Volunteers doing what volunteers do.
Ran towards danger to help keep communities safe.
As residents watch and act.
Literally thousands of people were asked to leave their home. That has happened.
But in Lismore, there is tension too.
There is so much stress and anxiety. I've got to spray this morning from someone saying you should have done bloody more.
The flooding's already started. The roads are cut at times. The wind is so strong you can barely stand up. And Cyclone Alfred is still hours away from unleashing its full fury. At Byron Bay, a pub with no cheer after a tree came down. The beachfront here is battered too.
Very nervous, like even the Category 1 makes us nervous type thing. Category 2 is scary as hell.
To breaking news now on Cyclone Alfred, and a man has vanished in floodwaters in the state's north. Live now to Bill Hogan in Lismore. Bill, the man has disappeared just south of where you are.
Yeah, good evening, Ange. Well, the man was in a four-wheel drive when he was swept off a bridge near Dorrigo, about 200 kilometres south from where I am. He managed to climb out of the car and hold onto a tree, and he was speaking with police when suddenly he was vanished into the water, and tragically he has not been seen since about 3 o'clock this afternoon. It is shocking news as communities right along the coast braced for the worst. Alfred is still at sea and Lismore is already being swamped.
And as you can see, we're not even close to being at ground zero yet, and it's already pretty bad.
The great flood survivor ready for another battle.
I think particularly of the people of Lismore, for example, have been knocked down, they get up, they get knocked down, they get up, and now they have this.
At Lismore's Dark Horse Espresso, a final dash.
Going down.
The last business to clear from the CBD, loading the entire cafe into a horse float.
The design of the shop has always been that it's going to flood again.
In South Lismore, no time to rest, as flood-prone homes are cleared again, getting ready to move lives to higher ground.
We're not going to leave until the river is up.
How do you feel about this one?
I don't know because I haven't been through a cyclone.
Lismore University campus has now been turned into an evacuation centre, and not just for people.
Puppy pads, blankets, kitty litter.
But critics say the government is moving slower than Alfred.
For example, in the Byron Evacuation Centre at the Cavern Bar Centre, no sleeping materials, no stretchers.
But reinforcements are on the way. The Defence Force soon with boots on the ground. The SES already out in force. So far, there have been more than 6,000 calls for help as they race against time.
The weather will deteriorate over the next few hours and then it may be too late to leave.
Water rescue strike teams are on the way to Bellingen, Lismore, Coffs Harbour, Taree and Port Macquarie. They are also bringing extra mobile phone coverage with drones for searches and drop-offs. At Ballina, the lights are off and almost nobody's home. The streets deserted and sandbagged. Those not evacuating are preparing for a long lockdown.
We're just out with the dog trying to get the last bits of not rain so the dog doesn't go insane in the house.
As the Wilsons River continues to rise, the Bureau predicts that by this evening it may exceed the major flood level of 9.7 metres. That will see low-lying areas of Lismore inundated. The concern then will be if it reaches the levee height of 10.5 metres. That will see the CBD inundated. But as Alfred continues to bring more and more rain, the last thing these residents want to see is the flood level of February 2022. And from the cyclone zone tonight, a plea for all Australians to roll up our sleeves.
You can give us your thoughts and prayers, but we need something practical from you, and that is blood.
Bill Hogan, 7 News.
And we have more breaking news now. Residents on the Gold Coast have just been warned to shelter in place hours out from the cyclone's arrival. Annie Puller joins us live. Annie, how treacherous are the conditions there now?
Well, Ange, it's starting to feel very real. As you just mentioned, an emergency alert has been issued for parts of the Gold Coast, with residents right now being urged to take shelter in a safe area of their home and stay off the roads. But as you can see, despite these warnings, large crowds are still gathering here at Main Beach. Police have been trying to move people on, but the message really just isn't cutting through for some. As this weather intensifies, it will not only put beaches here to the test, but high-rises too. 70 floors up on Australia's tallest building, and the astonishing force accompanying Alfred's approach is hard to escape. You can really hear it howling, can't you?
Yes.
This is how Nav and Taruna Gupta are riding out Alfred.
Everything inside the unit was shaking. The sound was deafening.
Gale force winds sweeping through at breathtaking speeds.
It was blowing me off my feet. You can't stand in the street when it's like this.
The Gold Coast's famous beaches have not been spared of nature's fury either.
It's a bit crazy.
It's a cliff drop, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy, yeah. People have been falling down.
Here, the life-saving towers are centimetres away from collapse. Gold Coast beaches are prone to erosion, but it is rare to see damage like this happen so quickly. The real concern for authorities, tourists essentially teetering on the edge of this cliff face with no comprehension of how unstable this ground is. The menacing storm has been making an arrival in explosive bursts. And the higher the home, the more the wind whistles. The first bout hammered into the city overnight.
Power lost to Currumbin Valley.
Lights out too at Lily and Maddie's home.
So we're really prepared. We found a perfect spot.
With games, snacks and torches, they're hunkering down in the safest part of their home.
It's pretty much the only spot in our house with no windows and doors. It's pretty cozy.
Power is already out for tens of thousands of properties, but it's become too dangerous to send help.
The crews will start work just as soon as they possibly can.
And a warning as night falls again.
It's time to be safe at home.
It's really scary. I'm from Sydney, so I've never seen a cyclone. I've never been in a cyclone.
Alfred may only be a Category 2, but its wrath could be second to none. Annie Puller, 7 News.
So we know the eye of the cyclone is tracking towards hitting the Queensland coast due at around lunchtime tomorrow. Garth Burley is on Bribie Island just north of Brisbane, which is right in the path of Alfred's predicted landfall. Garth, what's happening there in these crucial final hours?
Yeah, good evening to you, Ange. The Weather Bureau is predicting that Alfred will first cross the Moreton Bay Islands, the closest of which is 30 kilometres southeast of here, in the early hours of the morning, but that tracking is changing by the hour and the weather here is changing by the minute. 5 minutes ago it was sunny, now those winds have really picked up in unpredictability that no doubt only comes with a cyclone. Residents here on Bribie Island have been sandbagging their homes, fearful of a storm surge ahead of a high tide tomorrow morning around 5 a.m. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
If it goes over 1.5, we've got problems. Yeah, we've got water through the house.
It must be concerning, and knowing that its potential path could be hitting the Moreton Islands and potentially this region as well.
There's a lot of very nervous people on the island.
Residents here have been monitoring Alfred for days, unsure of what impact or initial impact he will have. Within 24 hours, it's likely they will have their answer.
Okay, thank you, Garth. A Lithuanian rower rescued by the Australian Navy hundreds of kilometres out to sea has returned to shore with first-hand experience of Cyclone Alfred's brutal power. The 44-year-old embraced his wife for the first time since October today after escaping his version of hell.
Here's a man who looked Tropical Cyclone Alfred in the eye and lived to hug his wife.
It's a big day for me.
Lithuanian Man Mountain Ulrimus Mokkus set out in October to row from San Diego to Brisbane, a 12,000 kilometre paddle to raise awareness for the war in Ukraine. With 740 kilometres left, along came the storm. Hell, he told media, is not hot.
It's actually wet and blow very strong wind.
16-metre waves capsized his boat, he says, 30 times.
Yeah, it's like cat in washing machine.
With no sun, his solar-powered communications were cut off. He triggered an SOS beacon last Thursday, never forgetting the pledge he made to his family to stay alive.
I keep the promise.
After 4 days at nature's mercy, a maritime safety plane sighted him.
It's no small task
finding an object that small in the middle of our oceans.
The Australian Navy did the rest. Ulramus had the presence of mind to take gifts for his saviours from his waterlogged boat.
The first responsibility of all mariners is to the safety of other mariners, especially those who are in distress at sea.
Ulramus' original goal was to actually get to Sydney, just not on HMAS Tulis, which, by the way, was not immune to the treacherous conditions. The crew ran out of seasick tablets.
And the ship's company's going to have a very good weekend, catching up on some sleep that wasn't possible.
A second attempt at the row, somehow not out of the question.
Not yet.
Cannot just keep him like closed in at house. No, it's impossible.
Tom Saker, 7 News.
Jodie Lee is at Qantas headquarters for us tonight. Jodie, the airlines are dealing with thousands of stranded passengers.
Exactly right, Ange. Well, this is the Qantas engine room. Here, more than 400 people are working right around the clock to manage every flight across the country, including those that have been suspended as a result of Tropical Cyclone Alfred. So far, it's really those flights in and out of Brisbane, the Gold Coast and Ballina. 400 of them so far suspended, and I'm told it'll be the case until at least Sunday morning at the earliest. Here at least there is a meteorologist on hand. They are monitoring the conditions minute by minute. Any passenger that was due to travel is advised to check the website and the app, but Qantas insists that every passenger will be reaccommodated on another flight as soon as Alfred passes. Fueling fear, service stations across the Northern Rivers slam shut, leaving this ambulance in a different type of emergency. And this long-haul semi out of luck. Countless anxious drivers trying to flee Alfred but left with no escape.
I got nothing. I'm nearly empty. Well, if I don't get petrol, I'm stuck here.
It's made the decision to leave all the more difficult for residents of the state's north. But those who stay face the real risk of days without power and the possibility of being entirely cut off.
We went for a drive and just had a little suss what's going on, and roads are pretty shocking. Trees falling down everywhere, roads blocked off.
Even before Tropical Cyclone Alfred strikes, the M1 between Tweed Heads and Byron Bay has closed.
With those evacuation orders, the advice very clearly from the SES is to stay off the roads unless you have to travel.
Some drivers have been caught in limbo. Travelling around Australia, Clive and his dog were making their way north on the road home to WA.
I've just been from here up to Byron Bay and had to go through sort of 2 feet of floodwaters to get back here.
They'll now have to spend the next few nights at this Ballina truck stop.
I'm not worried about him. I've got plenty of food for him, but the next couple of days could be a bit of a problem for me.
They're not alone. The travel centre quickly emerging as the best option for so many left stranded by Alfred.
Just for a couple of days, when it dies down, I'll just keep going. No trees, nothing to blow on me, so pretty easy.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Angie and Chris, the wind's really picked up even while we've been on air. If you can believe it, I've still spotted 2 surfers out in that angry sea. I will have more updates in about 10 minutes from here in the State South.
All right, we'll talk to you then. Thank you, Ange. Now, as Alfred approaches and threatens destruction, it's also causing an entirely different kind of storm in Canberra.
If the Prime Minister had plans to hold an election in April, they're slipping fast. His sights instead locked on that imminent disaster.
Usually Prime Ministers call elections. This time, Alfred's handling it.
When nature does its worst, Australians are at our best.
The Albanese government has paused announcements and political attacks. For now, it's all about the peril of Cyclone Alfred.
My government is razor focused.
And yet the slowing storm, the wild early winds and expected flooding are about to swamp the last hours in which Prime Minister Albanese can call the widely favoured April 12 federal election. Either the emergency is over by Monday or the election is off until May.
All the planning now would be around a later election date.
In 40 years working on Australian elections, consultant Bruce Hawker says he's never seen a wild card toy with an election date quite like Alfred.
I think this is a unique moment in my memory.
It wouldn't be appropriate for the Prime Minister to call the election this weekend.
The opposition hosing down criticism of leader Peter Dutton for leaving his Brisbane electorate to attend a Sydney fundraiser.
No one can doubt Peter Dutton's commitment to his electorate.
In politics, now is the time to cool it. Tonight, the chances of an April election are slipping fast, though my understanding is Prime Minister Albanese is yet to flatly rule it out. Tim Lester, 7 News.
It is time to check the local weather now with Amber Laidler. Amber, there was at least plenty of sunshine in Sydney today.
Yes, Angie, Chris, good evening. We did see a few showers across some of the suburbs since 9 a.m, mostly away from the coast. Those falls generally light. The most was around 6 millimetres recorded at Warrenora Dam, but most parts enjoyed generally clear skies. Otherwise, temperatures a touch above average across the Sydney Basin too. But obviously, significant rainfall totals have been recorded across the state's northeast. More than 100 millimetres has been recorded at Bellingen, just inland of Coffs Harbour, since 9 a.m, with nearby totals exceeding 200 millimetres over the past 24 hours. With Alfred due to send heavy falls down to Sydney early next week. Your detailed outlook and your latest weekend forecast coming up soon.
Amber, thank you. A shark attack in Sydney's south. After the break, a paddleboarder flown to hospital. What locals saw.
Fresh trouble for Alan Jones. Details of the latest charge.
A stolen car wipeout in Beverly Hills. Teenagers arrested.
A fake bomb and a hero shearer. Wild new details about the Jetstar emergency.
And how residents are handling the cyclone threat. More from the danger zones coming up. Welcome back to our special coverage of Cyclone Alfred here in the state's north. Residents are being warned they could be without power for several days as winds cause damage to the electricity network. As we go to air, more than 38,000 homes and businesses in the Northern Rivers and Far North Coast are without power, mostly because of fallen trees and branches. I can confirm the hardest hit areas are between Tweed Heads and Yamba. Essential Energy, the company in charge of power in the region, says it's just too dangerous to repair the damaged infrastructure right now. That means residents and businesses need to get ready for long and extended power outages in the coming days. I will have more updates for you from here on the ground soon. Now it's back to Angie and Chris in the studio.
A woman aged in her 50s has been savaged by a shark while paddleboarding at Bundina in Sydney South.
Her leg has been mauled and she had to be rushed to hospital by helicopter.
Hovering over Port Hacking and below, paramedics raced to stop a woman's severe bleeding after she was bitten by a shark 10 metres offshore.
I looked over there and that's when I saw blood in the water.
The victim is a Bundina local. She was bitten by the shark around 1:30 this afternoon at Gunya Beach. She'd been paddleboarding alone when the animal attacked. Others heard her screams and fearlessly jumped into the water to help.
It's an awful thing to happen. Your local beach, you just don't expect this stuff to happen here. There was one girl screaming for help. And then there was a girl, the victim, that was in the water.
Stabilised, then walked along the rocks and to a rescue helicopter, airlifted to St George Hospital in a serious condition, suffering from major blood loss.
She felt a strike to the leg and then immediate excruciating pain.
It's not yet known what species of shark attacked this afternoon, but locals say there have been regular sightings of the animals in recent weeks.
And he said he thought he saw a bull shark surface just near him.
Doctors expect she will recover, but don't yet know what permanent damage has been caused to her leg. Andrew Denny, 7 News.
Sydney's former King of Radio, Alan Jones, has been hit with a fresh assault charge. It relates to an 11th victim of alleged indecent assault and sexually touching offences spanning 2 decades. Alan Jones has already faced court on 34 charges, pleading not guilty. He'll return to the Downing Centre next Tuesday on that new charge.
A male cyclist is in an induced coma in RPA Hospital after being hit by a bus at Strathfield around 2:30 this morning. The 48-year-old man was found lying by the side of the road at Strathfield Square with a serious head injury. Police are now investigating that crash. There are chilling new details tonight on how a 17-year-old boy stormed a Jetstar flight at Avalon Airport armed with a shotgun and fake bombs.
The accused teen faced court today as Barry the Brave Shearer was hailed a hero for bringing the frightening ordeal to an end.
Yesterday, he was Barry Clark the Shearer.
Thanks, Barry.
Tonight, he's Barry the Brave. Given a hero's welcome for his quick actions in an airport emergency.
You need to medal that fella. He saved all them people's lives.
The man from Moama saw a gun and leapt into action.
I saw the barrel butt, and when I saw the complete gun, I said, we're in trouble here.
The 17-year-old suspect from the Victorian Goldfields fronted the Children's Court today, accused of storming the flight armed with a stolen shotgun and a fake homemade explosive, declaring, "I've got bombs in my bag." There's still no indication of what motivated him. 7 News understands the suspect climbed through a fence at Avalon Airport shortly before 3 p.m. yesterday, then climbed the stairs to the Jetstar flight and announced himself as a maintenance worker. Tonight, there are questions about how anyone could so easily gain access to a commercial flight.
Police presence at Avalon is miles away. How can this be?
The other hero in this story, the plane's senior pilot, who also helped take the teenager down. He's already back up in the air, with Jetstar commending all of the crew for how they handled the incident.
We're just so proud of our people and the way they acted.
Barry was on the first flight to Sydney this morning. Tonight, he'll be cheering on the Sydney Swans.
I want to go and watch the champion win a footy game.
His next trip is on the house. Estelle Greepink, 7 News.
4 teenagers have been involved in a dramatic home invasion and police chase across Sydney this morning. The stolen Jeep crashed into 4 other cars at an intersection in Beverly Hills before the occupants were seen sprinting away. 4 boys aged between 14 and 17 were arrested nearby and are expected to be charged.
Tunnelling on the M6 motorway through Sydney's south is about to restart, with traffic conditions changing this month on West Botany Street at Rockdale. One section will be down to 1 lane to allow more work shoring up the ground following previous collapses during tunnelling. The first drivers are expected on the M6 at the end of 2028. Plenty of your top local stories are still to come, but next we return to Byron Bay.
Now, Northern New South Wales is rallying together. We speak with one local who's seen it all before.
$13 million worth of illegal vapes uncovered in Castle Hill.
A popular business up in flames. Why this Pilates studio was torched.
Pope Francis, in his own words, the pontiff's message from hospital.
Meghan hits the talk show circuit, fawning over her Prince Charming.
Meet the woman taking Australian air travel to new heights.
And ahead in sport, we are live from the SCG for the Swans AFL season opener against Hawthorn.
Welcome back. Cyclone Alfred is now just hours away from finally making landfall.
While the impact zone is north of the border, New South Wales is already being hit hard. Back to Angela Cox in Byron Bay. Ange, you've been with the locals right in the thick of it.
Yeah, Chris, you know how resilient this community is. I spent some time driving around today meeting locals who are preparing for flooding. One bloke, Jim Knight, he's been through a cyclone in Byron before, and there was no chance he was leaving his home of more than 6 decades. Take a listen. You lived through 1974 cyclone in this house?
Yes, that's correct. I've been in this house since 1957. I was born, well, I wasn't born in this house, I was born in the hospital, but my parents owned this house, so I've lived in the same house for 67 years. So,
because driving past and just having a look, I'd be pretty worried, but you're confident that this house is going to still stand through this cyclone?
Yeah, it'll be right. It went through the 74. It was pretty similar to what it is now, as you can probably see, but yeah, it'll be right.
And you were saying your feelings in 74 are a bit different to now. Back then as a kid, what were you? You're excited?
Well, back as a kid, it was all, just excitement, watching the waves sort of roll down the main street a little bit, and, they were coming through the old surf club. It nearly, fell into the ocean. So we were just running around having fun.
And now?
Well, now, you're an adult, you've seen what can happen, and so you're more concerned, as like my parents would have been back then.
There you go, Chris. Cool, calm, collected, hoping for the very best. They breed them tough up here. I'll be back with an update on the missing man in Coffs in 10 minutes.
Well done, Jim. Well done, Ange. We'll talk to you then. Thank you. And police have seized a staggering $13 million worth of illegal vapes during a raid in Sydney's northwest. Boxes and boxes of the nicotine devices were being hidden in this industrial warehouse on Packard Avenue in Castle Hill. No one's been arrested yet, though, over the 7-ton haul.
A Pilates studio on the Central Coast has been destroyed in an arson attack. The business is only a year old and has proved popular, attracting more than 300 members. Too popular, it seems, for someone that police are now hunting.
It's supposed to be a place of wellness. Instead, this Pilates studio was the one feeling the burn. At Pilates Erida, targeted early this morning by an arsonist. The flames licking at the shop front as firefighters worked to extinguish the blaze.
We had 5 fire trucks and about 20 firefighters on scene. Fortunately, they were able to knock it down and contain it relatively quickly.
Just moments earlier, neighbouring business owners saw a Jeep reversing into the studio, then ripping the doors from their hinges.
It's pretty intentional, so that's scary that people are out there doing that.
That Jeep found a light a short time later, almost half an hour away in Mardi.
It's kind of, alarming, and we're all just in shock.
Today, the shattered remnants of reformers remain. The equipment worth $12,000 each, and there were 10 inside.
The owners have told 7 News they're distraught, asking how anyone could be so cruel. The business, their livelihood and greatest passion, now a project they vow to rebuild.
Detectives now working to determine why they were targeted. Zoe Martin, 7 News.
We've heard from Pope Francis for the first time since he was hospitalised 3 weeks ago. The Vatican shared an audio clip during the evening rosary prayer in St Peter's Square, the 88-year-old, with a message to Catholics who've been praying for him in his native Spanish.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers for my health from the square. I follow you from here. May God bless you and the Virgin protect you. Thank you.
The Pontiff remains in a stable condition, fighting off double pneumonia. We're back to Byron Bay next for a major update.
I'll have the latest details in the search for a man missing in the flood zone.
Back from the brink, how one of the country's favourite dairy brands was saved.
Rare air for Meghan. Her cosy chat marks a big TV return.
And soon in Sport Live from the SCG, are the Roosters already redlining one game into the season?
Hello, Star Entertainment has had some luck. A Hong Kong group will take full control of the Brisbane Casino and Resort for $53 million. The deal is pending government approval, but it should save around 3,000 jobs and buy some time. Cheesy grins for King Island dairy lovers. The Canadian-owned company was scheduled to close mid-year, but buyers have been found, putting the 120-year-old brand back in Aussie hands and mouths. And Donald Trump's stop-start trade talk is sending markets spiralling. We weren't immune. The ASX hit a 6-month low, slumping below 8,000 points. The tariff turbulence helped our dollar, holding above 63 US cents. Now, all eyes are, of course, on Cyclone Alfred this weekend. There are fears 1 in 4 Aussies are underinsured.
Welcome back to our special coverage of Cyclone Alfred. Returning to the breaking news we brought you at the start of the bulletin, a tragic search is underway tonight for what might be the first victim of this cyclone. A man has been washed away in floodwaters near the town of Dorrigo in the state's north. His four-wheel drive had been swept off a bridge, and while he was able to grab a tree branch and talk to police, he was suddenly washed away in fast-moving water. We will have more on Cyclone Alfred soon.
Talk to you then. Thank you, Ange.
Now, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has made a rare television appearance to promote her new lifestyle series, which launched this week.
She didn't air any royal grievances, but shared an insight into life married to a prince.
The
Making her first talk show appearance in more than 3 years. The Duchess of Sussex sat down with host Drew Barrymore.
I'm such a warm person and I love affection.
During their chat on the couch, Prince Harry, who Meghan calls H, was a hot topic.
I did not expect to meet H and for this to be our love story. And, you know, I'm very lucky. And he's an amazing father.
In keeping with the theme of her new lifestyle show, Meghan jumped into the kitchen.
And then you put your thumbprint in, which is what makes it a fun group activity.
To bake cookies for the audience, revealing Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet helped bake this batch. Meghan telling the host her little royals still sometimes speak like their dad.
Some of the words that they still say with a British accent, so they'll say zebra, because they have very American accents, but they say words that are just like him.
The biggest surprise was for Meghan when Barrymore pulled out a photo of Princess Diana, revealing she'd met Harry's mother when she was 7 years old.
It was the honour of my life.
In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
They were a fan favourite, but drone shows won't be taking to the skies during Vivid 2025. Destination New South Wales making the difficult decision to ground the fleet.
We did actually take advice from New South Wales Police and also from Transport for New South Wales. Obviously, there were some safety concerns.
Skyrocketing costs were also a factor. Instead, the money will go towards creating more immersive experiences and free events. A special week for Australian aviation. Still to come, hundreds of female pilots, cabin crew and engineers hoping to inspire the next generation of high flyers.
And weather forecasts don't come much more important than this one. The final word on Cyclone Alfred's arrival. Don't miss those stories soon on 7 News. Right, first up, Mel's back with sport, live from the SCG. Mel, the wait's almost over for the Swans.
Yeah, that's right, Rezo. Hello to you and Ange. Their quest for redemption after last year's grand final horror show starts tonight against the Hawks. We'll hear from the Swans next. Plus, the Jerome Luai era begins at West Tigers against the Knights. And Nick Kyrgios breaks down with his tennis career in the balance.
Dreaming of thicker, fuller hair? Try OGX Biotin and Collagen Shampoo and Conditioner, $12.49 each at Chemist Warehouse. This powerhouse duo helps to strengthen and thicken each strand, creating a fuller...
Welcome back to the SCG. The Swans AFL opener soon, but first NRL, and round one is far from over. But the Roosters are already in crisis mode. Depleted of stars, the powerhouse club was thrashed last night by Brisbane. Victor Radley suffering 6 HIAs now in 4 seasons after another sickening collision.
Insult and injury.
Oh, stopped there by Radley, who might have concussed himself.
KO'd by his captain's friendly fire.
Towards Tedesco.
I think I got him right in the head, so that's probably I think it was on me.
Radley out for round 2 against Penrith.
It's pretty key to our team and the way that we run things.
A cut Lindsay Collins brave, but Brisbane's big men Payne Haas and Pat Carrigan carved up the Chooks. Chaotic defence and dumb football blamed. Broncos 50, Roosters 14.
We got found out many times. Smarts and chaos D. That was where it was at.
The Broncos home via Toowoomba, west of Brisbane, to avoid Cyclone Alfred.
It's ideal that we get back to our families and make sure our partners and wives are safe.
Ex-Rooster Satili Tupouniua's tipped to boost the Bulldogs tomorrow against the Dragons.
The physicality he brings on the field every day is awesome to watch, and I don't know how it is to train against, but we're glad he's on our team.
The Cogra sellout, the NRL debut for Dragons junior Hamish Stewart.
Everyone will be excited when they see him come on, and it'll give us a lift.
Daly Cherry Evans leads Manly tomorrow night at Brookvale against the Cowboys. Coy about his future, the 36-year-old has told his coach.
And I'll keep that private. I think he's earned to go out on his terms.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
Well, Jerome Luai is making an instant impact for West Tigers tonight against the Knights. The gun half triggered the joint venture's first try for fellow recruit Jarrell Skelton. Adam Dewey was deadly from out wide. At half-time, the Tigers led 8-0. We're here at the SCG tonight. The Swans can finally leave that grand final debacle behind with the honour of opening the AFL season against Hawthorn. Star midfielder James Rowbottom spoke to Matt Carmichael at their warm-up.
Oh, James, thanks so much for your time before the game. There's a crowd already building here. Does it stir up the great emotions that you had from these home games last year?
Yeah, it does. The doors just open behind us and there's a crowd building out there in the foyer. And as you said, last year was incredible what we were able to build, and hopefully we can start again and build that sort of momentum.
It's a privilege to have the opening game of the season here at your home ground. Do you sort of take that on tonight too?
Yeah, definitely. Probably not under the circumstances we would have liked, obviously, with the cyclone up north. So thoughts go out to everyone up there. But yeah, we'll take it. And yeah, it's obviously a bit of a privilege to have it 2 years in a row.
What are the keys to a great performance against Hawthorn tonight?
Yeah, obviously they're a great side. They proved it late last year. They got within a kick of prelim. They got a lot of talent up forward, a big hard midfield. So it'll be a good contest.
Go well tonight, James. Thanks so much for your time before the big game.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, new year and a new face for the Giants in Sunday's opener against Collingwood. 19-year-old James Leake will debut at Angie Stadium. He found out after training today.
We got some pretty good news. Leakey, you're debuting. Yeah! That was a bit strange, but...
Darcy Jones is in doubt with a rolled ankle. Last night, the Giants welcomed the community to the club for their annual iftar dinner. Nick Kyrgios admits he doesn't know what's next for his career. Playing his first match since the Australian Open, the former Wimbledon finalist retired hurt in the first round at Indian Wells. Kyrgios' surgically repaired wrist flared up and he broke down.
This process has been extreme, probably one of the biggest challenges I've faced in my life. I can't really be doing any more to try and get back and play.
Kyrgios had already said this injury could finish him as a player. I'm sure many tennis fans certainly hope not. Angie and Rizzo, a lot of excitement in the air. It is an absolutely beautiful night here for the footy to get underway, and it is a real honour, as the Swans keep saying, to kick off the season here as well. But, you know, as I said, excitement in the air. It's good times.
Yeah, big night for the Swans and for Sydney.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Mel. On the eve of International Women's Day, females are being encouraged to aim for the skies, quite literally.
This week, Qantas and Jetstar planes have been flown by all-women crews right across the country, and the airline is offering opportunities for those who want to get on board.
Taking to the skies, this is one very special Jetstar flight.
We have an all-female crew on board today to take you to Adelaide.
From the schedulers, dispatchers, cabin crew and flight deck, it's women who are pushing aviation to new heights.
It doesn't happen very often, but we are seeing more females come through the ranks.
To mark International Women's Day, Qantas and Jetstar have flown more than 50 flights this week, operated entirely by more than 250 female pilots, cabin crew, engineers and operations managers, with flights crisscrossing the country and overseas to New Zealand, Manila and Tokyo.
It's nice to see your colleagues succeeding and having these experiences and opportunities, so it's great to see everyone banding together.
Encouraging the next generation of women and girls to consider a career in aviation.
It's a great career, and we're seeing it's more progressive now in terms of flexible workplace arrangements.
Historically a male-dominated career, Qantas is encouraging more female pilots to take to the sky, doubling the number of female scholarships available at the Qantas Flight Academy.
It's going to take time, and you've got to get in at a grassroots level to schools, to universities, and show young girls that there's an incredible opportunity for women in aviation.
Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
Well, Amber's back with the forecast now. Amber, we are expecting some showers in Sydney tomorrow.
Yes, Angie, potentially later in the day with the heavy falls to arrive early next week. Your full forecast is coming up next.
Tonight's 7 News headline, Cyclone Alfred is ready to strike, expected to make landfall just north of Brisbane around lunchtime tomorrow. A search is underway for a man missing in floodwaters near the town of Dorrigo in the state's north. And an emotional reunion for a rower rescued from Cyclone Alfred's fury. He's now back with his family on dry land. Angie and Chris, back to you with more from Byron Bay coming up shortly.
All right, Ange, thanks to you for that. Now here's Amber with Sydney's weather.
Thank you, Chris. We are seeing a few showers rolling in over the coast. Parts of the northern beaches and the central coast impacted so far, but conditions are looking generally settled over the city. Right now it's hovering around 23 degrees. It reached 27 earlier this afternoon. We are going to skip ahead and pick up the satellite image. Tropical Cyclone Alfred continues to track towards the southeast Queensland coast, currently less than 100 kilometres offshore, and it's forecast to make a mainland coastal crossing potentially as a Category 1 system later on Saturday before downgrading again to a tropical low. But as we see the core of that system traverse inland, we are expecting widespread rainfall to spread down across the state's east, extending down towards towards Sydney during the start of next week. But until then, heavy rain and possibly destructive wind gusts on the way for Brisbane tomorrow. Elsewhere, a cloudy 26 expected in Canberra, Melbourne sunny and 32. A hot sunny start to the weekend in Adelaide, reaching 36 degrees, 27 under mostly sunny skies in Perth. Away from the coast, it's looking warm and sunny, but widespread rainfall is forecast about the northern rivers, the mid-north coast and the adjacent ranges. The chance of storms there too, with heavy to intense falls likely, also damaging to destructive wind gusts. Multiple severe weather warnings are obviously in place, with scattered showers also possible across the remainder of the state's east and northern inland. If we zoom in now on Sydney, there is a chance of a few late showers here tomorrow, most likely during the afternoon and evening. Tops tomorrow under cloudy skies, looking pretty similar to today, reaching 27 degrees in Richmond and Penrith, also across the southwest. 25 is the top tomorrow at Bondi. On the water tomorrow, southeasterlies will run at up to 20 knots early before turning easterly during the morning. That's on an easterly swell reaching 2.5 metres. Now, hazardous surf conditions have eased off the coast here in Sydney, but are expected to persist off Byron and Coffs Harbour tomorrow. Wind warnings are also in place further north too. But under cloudy skies, 27 degrees is the forecast top in the city tomorrow, with that chance of late showers potentially persisting on Sunday. But it is on Monday when that wet weather really starts to pick up and we feel the effects of Tropical Cyclone Alfred here. Heavy rainfall starts impacting much of the state's east, persisting into Tuesday, and then we'll see those conditions start to peter off towards the end of next week. But up to 60 millimetres forecast across Sydney on Monday at this stage, 30 to 35 millimetres on Tuesday, looking like a very wet start to the working week, Chris and Angie.
There's a bit going on.
Yep.
Thank you, Amber. That is our 7 News Bulletin for you this Friday evening, but remain with us on the 7 Network.
We continue our Cyclone Alfred coverage now with Angela Cox live from Byron Bay.
Tropical Cyclone Alfred is on its way, and this is special coverage from 7 News live from Byron Bay. The countdown is on, just hours now until Alfred arrives. Millions up and down our coast left to just wait.
I've never seen a cyclone, I've never been in a cyclone, so it's quite odd.
Brisbane tonight bracing for a direct hit. The streets eerily quiet right now and record rainfall on the horizon.
If that is not a reason to take this seriously, I don't know what is.
A familiar sight in northern New South Wales, Lismore flooded again and thousands ordered out of their homes.
Billy, I've never seen anything like this. It's unbelievable.
Schools shut, flights grounded and power out. We've pulled out all the stops to keep people safe.
So effectively what we're doing is we're quarantining the southeast part of Queensland from the rest of the network.
Good evening, I'm Angela Cox in Byron Bay, where we are counting down until Tropical Cyclone Alfred makes landfall. The effects of the system are already being felt up and down the coastline, including here. Tonight we have teams in all the key locations across northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland, ready to bring you all the breaking news and key information as it comes to hand tonight. But we start with new evacuation orders from the SES. It affects parts of Port Macquarie, Settlement Point, Condong and South Murwillumbah. Residents there told to leave now and head to safety. Now to tragic news from northern New South Wales. Live to Bill Hogan in Lismore. Bill, a driver appears to have been washed away just south of you.
Yeah, good evening, Ange. It's a desperate and devastating search that is taking place in Dorrigo, which is about 250 kilometres south of where I am tonight. A man driving a four-wheel drive was swept off a bridge into the water. He had managed to get out of the vehicle and grab onto the branch of a tree and was actually speaking with police. Then suddenly he was swept into the water, and tragically he has not been seen since 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, police are conducting a major search there, but they're also prompting a warning as these floodwaters continue to rise. There is a major safety message to avoid them if possible. Now, that is a message that has been well received here in Lismore. They are taking an abundance of caution. Where I am in the CBD, it has been simply a ghost town for the entire day. If you look down the street, there is no one there. There's a few people driving past. This is just one end of the main kind of area of Lismore CBD. If you take a look down the other end, you can also see that it's just simply a ghost town. No one is taking any risks. All their businesses are closed up and been sandbagged, and they are preparing and they are bracing. As we go to where the Wilsons River is currently at a moderate level, tonight it's going to reach a minor level, and tomorrow we are expecting that around midday that it will reach a major flooding level, and there's potential that it will breach the levee. The real risk here is this rain. It continues to pour. It's been off for a couple hours now, but it is really coming down here tonight, and that is what is going to have residents very nervously watching on and checking the conditions. And the advice is make sure you can check the SES updates if you need to evacuate, but it seems, to be honest, Ange, that everybody has already cleared out.
That is great news, Bill, and we're seeing the same thing here in Byron Bay. It has been dry most of the day, but the wind is picking up and that rain is starting to come in. Thank you, Bill Hogan. Let's bring in Deputy Commissioner Deb Platts from the State Emergency Service. Thanks again for your time, Deb. Take us through these new evacuation orders.
Yes, we have been issuing new evacuation orders right throughout the day, actually. So we currently have 125 warnings in place right across northern and northeastern New South Wales. Of those, 33 of them are warning orders for people to evacuate. We have some new ones that have come up. We really encourage people to go to our website or to the Hazards Near Me app to make sure that they know what the warnings are for their particular area, because as I said, we have significant number of warnings right across the state, so we need people to stay alert. One thing that has been coming to our attention, though, is that some essential services like telecommunications are starting to be impacted. So the SES has been out there door knocking in the areas where we need people to evacuate from. I'm hoping that people are well prepared and they have their battery radios with them so that they can listen to the warnings on media. So New South Wales residents, of course, are not used to tropical cyclones, so it would be great if people knew exactly what to do in these circumstances. We are seeing people drive unnecessarily. We've had 7 rescues already for people driving into flooded waters, so we really need people to stay off the roads to allow emergency service to get about and do their job, unless they are under an evacuation order, in which case we're asking people to relocate to their friends and families in the first instance if they can. If they can't, we have 20 evacuation centres right across the Northern Rivers, Tweed, Byron coast where people can go to remain safe during the impact of this storm.
Look, we've had some tragic news with this driver washed away in floodwaters in northern New South Wales. What's your message to drivers?
Yes, sadly, there has been, as I mentioned, a number of incidences today where people have driven into flooded waters. We always say if it's flooded, forget it, but still people continue to drive through flooded waters when they don't know the depth or the how strong the water is flowing, or indeed what's underneath the water. And when they do that, they can be swept away very easily. In fact, some studies show that only 10 centimetres of swift water can actually move a vehicle and sweep it away. So please, you are putting your own lives in danger, you are putting your family and friends in danger, and you're putting the emergency services officers, and in particular our volunteers who are out there, over 3,200 of them that are out there helping their community in their time of need. So please, if it is flooded, forget it.
We know those volunteers are already so busy. What are you expecting tomorrow?
So what we're expecting now is for the winds to pick up, although in some areas we have already seen wind gusts of over 100 kilometres an hour, which has brought down trees and power lines and caused damage to some houses. So the wind will pick up, and also the rain will continue to fall, and in some areas it will become very significant. There's a couple of areas around Coffs Harbour and also Dorrigo that have already had over 200 millimetres of rain today, which is very significant. That will continue. Unfortunately, with this system, it appears that Alfred, whilst it will change from being a tropical cyclone into potentially just a low system, it is going to hang around for some time, and we will expect this significant rainfall for around 5 days.
Lots of rain still to come. Deputy Commissioner Deb Platts, thank you for your time. You're back in studio now. We've just lost Angela Cox in Byron Bay. We will take you back there shortly. A shelter-in-place warning has been issued for parts of the Gold Coast tonight. Live to Annie Puller, residents have been told to get inside immediately.
Yeah, Angie, and we're really starting to feel the impact of the Alfred here in Main Beach. The wind has been coming in gusts and it's really feeling explosive and powerful. If you take a look at the ocean right now, it's essentially a whitewash, quite an astonishing sight to see, you know, essentially Australia's most famous beaches look like this. The erosion here is significant. We know that Gold Coast beaches are prone to erosion, but never have many locals seen damage like this. There is about a 4-metre drop there, and over the coming hours, over the last few hours, we've seen tourists, holiday makers turning out and teetering really closely on the edge simply because they really don't understand how unstable the ground is. I do want to bring you over to a resident. You're probably the last man standing here on Main Beach. Are you aware that there's an emergency warning in place at the moment?
Yes, I am very aware. Just had a check out on a Friday afternoon.
And how's it looking?
I've never seen this like this before. Pretty bad.
Are you worried?
Tomorrow morning I am worried. Then I'll definitely be at home and protect the house.
Thank you so much. And Angie, that emergency warning, I should say, is in place from Broadbeach all the way to Jacobs Creek and all the way down to North Stradbroke Island, which is in the firing line of Cyclone Alfred. As we go to where there's about 20,000 homes here still without power, particularly on the southern end of the Gold Coast. Residents there are hearing they could be without power for several days, if not weeks, depending on the impact of this cyclone. Angela.
Thanks so much, Annie. As you can appreciate, the cyclone is playing a bit of havoc. That's why we had those technical problems. It gets in the way with the satellite, but we're glad to be back with you. Let's go now to Amber Laidley, who is in our news headquarters with the latest on when Alfred is expected to make landfall.
Good evening, and well, Tropical Cyclone Alfred is now less than 80 kilometres off the coast of the Gold Coast. Its path so far has been a bit unpredictable, but the latest modelling has it crossing the islands off Brisbane between around 4 and 8 a.m. tomorrow as a Category 2 system, so that will bring destructive wind gusts. But then we could see it potentially drop down to a Category 1 as it moves over the inland later in the day. At this stage, we're expecting that coastal crossing to take place somewhere between Noosa and Beenleigh, which is just south of Brisbane, but eventually that system should reach a tropical low. Already, though, we have seen more than 100 millimetres fall in just 6 hours across parts of the northern rivers today. More than 100 millimetres at Bellingen, just inland of Coffs Harbour since 9 a.m, though 24-hour totals have exceeded 200 millimetres. Wind gusts also of more than 100 kilometres an hour recorded off the Gold Coast and off Cape Byron. Conditions, though, are only set to intensify this evening as Alfred moves closer to the coast. Multiple severe weather warnings are in place across the northeast tonight and into tomorrow. But even after that system eases and its core traverses inland, we are expecting widespread rainfall to extend down across eastern New South Wales. Sydney will likely start feeling the effects of this weather event by Monday. Heavy falls, potentially up to 60 millimetres, is expected across Sydney by Monday. Heavy falls persisting on Tuesday. So lots happening, and all eyes on that cyclone tracker as Alfred edges closer to the coast overnight, Ange.
Yeah, we can't take our eyes off that tracker. Thank you so much, Amber. Plenty more still to come on this special coverage of Tropical Cyclone Alfred, including community leaders in northern New South Wales have their say on the emergency response so far. And these are live pictures of the Gold Coast already feeling the full force of Alfred. Latest modelling has it making landfall sometime tomorrow morning. You're watching special coverage ahead of Tropical Cyclone Alfred's touchdown. This is Byron Bay this evening, part of the widespread area where there are severe weather warnings in place. For many residents in northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland, they've been cut off from the world, told to prepare for the worst as Tropical Cyclone Alfred approaches in the coming hours. One of the major motorways out of the area remains shut tonight, and for those still braving the roads, fuelling up is becoming a problem.
I've got nothing. I'm nearly empty. I've got to go to Algester, Queensland.
Flying isn't an option either, with flights in and out of the area suspended until Alfred passes. Residents in northern New South Wales are no strangers to natural disasters, and now they're being asked to endure another one. Joining us now is Mayor of the Tweed Shire, Chris Cherry, and Byron Shire Mayor Sarah Angie. Thank you, both of you, for your time. I know you must be incredibly busy. Chris, how is your community coping this evening?
Thanks, Angela. Yeah, it's obviously incredibly difficult. We've had a 24 hours now of winds gusting between 100 and 120 k's. We've got our floodwaters rising, and in our Tweed River, we're looking at major flooding happening overnight tonight. So it's really, really tense times, and it's obviously very stressful. A lot of PTSD out there from previous floods.
Yeah, Sarah, Byron is already getting hit hard. We've been here the past couple of days. What is your message to residents?
Stay safe. We don't want to lose any lives. Don't drive through floodwaters. Don't go surfing. Pull your head in and just buckle down, because we just don't know how bad this is going to be. The river is just bulging, and we haven't even had the rains hit yet. Many roads impassable, trees down. 12,000 people without power, most people without phone or internet. Just take it easy, do everything that you can to stay safe, get to an evacuation centre if you need to, or ideally go to friends and families that are in a safer place if you get those instructions.
I mean, how are you feeling emotionally? I mean, it just must be heartbreaking to see your community go through this again, yourself included.
I'm really proud of our community. And I'm grateful we've had the warnings now, and everybody has been heeding those warnings and doing what they've asked. I've been deeply frustrated that our evacuation centres have not been provided for properly, despite assurances right up until the day. And we've had so much warning. But true to her word, Rose Jackson did say she would get the stretchers there today and some food there. But I just think we need to get better at this. We know there's going to be more incidents like this with climate change. And, those basic things, if you can keep people fed, warm and dry, everyone can really get along and just bunker down. But we need to make sure we've got those basic things sorted out, and that there's energy and power and you can get to evacuation centres. The comms have been so much better this time. Bureau of Meteorology has been amazing, and so have the SES and police and fire. We've just got to get better at this, and we're just lucky that we've had these extra days to prepare.
Absolutely, those evacuation centres are so crucial. Chris, your residents could be isolated for days after this storm. What can they do to make life easier?
Look, one of our big things that we've got to do at the moment is actually conserve water. And I know that's a really hard message to give at the moment. But because of all of the power outages right across our shire, there's, thousands and thousands of residents with no power, and it's impacting on our ability to pump water around to the reservoirs around the shire. So we are asking all residents to only use the water that they need for cooking, drinking and essential hygiene. So that's a really important message. But we're saying, as Sarah said, stay off the roads, just stay safe, because this is no time to go sightseeing.
Exactly. Great advice. Stay off the roads, conserve your water. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate your time. More to come on this special edition of 7 News as we await Tropical Cyclone Alfred. Still to come, we are live to the first place in Australia to feel its full force in the coming hours. And these are live images of Burleigh Heads in southeast Queensland, giving us an idea of the storm's effects already. And the worst is yet to come. Stay with us here on 7 News. Tropical Cyclone Alfred now just a few hours away from making landfall. Brisbane is bracing for a direct hit. These are live pictures of the Queensland capital. Locals on North Stradbroke Island are going to be the very first hit, along with Moreton Bay. Resident Tom Small is on North Stradbroke Island and joins us now. Tom, what are you expecting?
I'm on South Stradbroke.
Oh, you're on South Stradbroke. I'm sorry, mate.
Island. Yeah.
Okay, what are you expecting?
A pretty hectic storm. I don't know. Probably about 40 knot winds, 50 knot winds, going to gust up pretty high there. We've already lost a fair bit of beach out here, and yeah.
You seem to be quite relaxed about it and taking it all in your stride. What sort of precautions have you taken?
We've got everything tied down. We've done everything we can at the moment, so all we got to do is just sit back and wait, see what happens.
Sit back and wait. Did you ever consider leaving for somewhere else?
Yeah, it was on the cards, but we just got too much stuff here and we can't leave it all, so yeah.
So you guys are going to be probably... You guys are going to be the first to experience this. You'll know what we're in for before we do. Are you scared about these strong winds we're going to get?
I'm definitely not looking forward to it, but we'll see how it goes. It's pretty hectic out here already. Probably about 30, 40 knots.
Okay, so you're saying it's pretty hectic. Describe it for me.
Oh, it's blowing its tits off. Yeah.
What was that, mate?
It's blowing its tits off.
Okay. Well, Tom, I hope you stay safe. We want you to. Look after yourself. Batten down the hatches. Tom Small on South Stradbroke Island. Thank you. Now, obviously, tropical cyclone isn't all serious business. Doesn't mean that some people aren't out there having a little fun. The heavy rains in Ballina created the perfect conditions for a slip and slide in the mud.
We've decided to come out here and battle the cyclone and make some fun of it.
It didn't take long to clean off. Ballina saw 60 millimetres of rain today. So that is where we will leave you for our special coverage in a few minutes. It's been a very big day here in Byron Bay and right across the northern New South Wales and of course across the border in Queensland. A very scary 18 hours ahead of us as we wait for Cyclone Alfred to make landfall at about midday tomorrow. A lot of people bracing for the worst. I am Angela Cox in Byron Bay. Thank you so much for your company and enjoy the AFL.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute.